Are you a deep feeler? Are you someone who always wants to see other people succeed? And maybe you're a coach, you're a healer, or you're just one of those people that feels a lot and genuinely loves seeing other people win. If that is you, then this episode is for you, my friend. I want to break down well, of course, there's positives about being someone who's constantly making the world a better place, constantly supporting other people. And there are some pitfalls that can really leak your energy that I want to talk about today in today's episode because this is something I've personally struggled with for most of my life, and it recently came up inside of one of my containers, Speak, Impact, and Scale, my program with one of my clients. And I know that this is something that so many other deep feelers and intuitives and people who genuinely want to help people face, and it can be leaking your energy right now. I'm going to keep today's episode short and sweet, and I'm going to give you some actionable things that you can start doing inside of your life to ask yourself the question, am I helping this person for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? And we're going to dive into that. So stay tuned. All right. So the first thing I want to say is, do you find yourself trying to get people to change? Are you trying to help people that maybe don't want help? Maybe you are putting people on your back, you're climbing a mountain, and you are doing all of the work, maybe for your clients, maybe for your friends, maybe for your significant other. You're doing all of these things to help people, but you are the one doing all the legwork. And at the end of the day, they're not really meeting you even halfway. This is something a lot of coaches face. This is something a lot of people face who are codependent, who feel responsible for other people's feelings, responsible for other people's results. I'm just going to let that sink in for a moment. Do you feel responsible for other people's emotions? Do you feel responsible for other people's actions? Do you feel responsible for other people's results? If the answer is yes, you might be codependent. And I know as a coach or as a leader or a facilitator or an educator, our job, our role is to help people win. And that's a great thing. I love coaching. I love helping people grow their businesses. I love helping people step into alignment. I love helping people get on stages and, blow up their businesses. I love all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't do the work for someone who doesn't want to do the work. You can't do the work for someone who doesn't want to do the work. And this came up recently in one of my containers, as I mentioned. My client's like, yeah, this person so needs my program, but it's just making so many excuses. And I said, listen, it sounds like they're not ready to do the work or they don't really want the outcome. Well, how could they not want the outcome? I can help them X, Y, Z. Why wouldn't they want it? Well, they might be addicted to their pain. They might be a bit addicted to their story, and they haven't had a moment where they've decided internally that they want to create that change and that they're willing to do the work. And this is a trap a lot of us who want to, help humanity, who want to help people, who want to help the world grow and evolve and, all of the things. It can be really challenging because we want to help everyone. But the problem is, if you're trying to help everyone, including the people that don't want help or aren't ready to take that step or do the work, you are going to burn yourself out. Okay. So stop trying to help people that don't want to be helped or the people that aren't willing to do the work for themselves. Okay. Don't do it. Don't be the savior of everyone because if people don't know how to save themselves, whatever that means, right? Get the results themselves, they're always going to be dependent on you. And if someone doesn't really want change, they won't take action. They will let you take action for them, which is a nice gift. Maybe I don't know what that could be about. That could be in business, that could be in life, that could be in relationship. But if they're unwilling to take the steps themselves to do the work and you're doing all the work for them, then you're in a codependent dynamic and you're probably leaking your energy. I'm thinking of a specific client I worked with years ago. Okay. So this is years and years ago. They were like, oh, I was helping them so much. I wanted to see them get results. I was doing all this extra work for them. And they didn't really appreciate it because they weren't really willing to do the work. And I remember them being upset that they didn't get a result. And I was like, well, you didn't actually do the thing, right? If you don't do the thing, you're not going to get the result. And that was a moment when they realized, oh, I'm not actually doing the work. I need to do the work if I want the result. And they weren't willing to do the work in order to get the result. So, in life, in business, we need to know when we're doing the work for people and we're trying to fix them, we're trying to help them, we're trying to save them. I'm doing quotations with my hands. If you're watching, if you're not, if you're just listening, then you're not seeing that. But you can't save people from themselves. And anyone that wants a transformation, a change in their life, they need to take the first step. They need to take steps towards their healing. They need to take steps towards their business. They need to take steps towards the results that they want. And it can't be you doing the work for someone else. Again, if you're listening, you're like, hey, well, I have a done for you agency or I have a done for you service. That's a little bit different. Someone's hiring you to fulfill on a service or a job that's done for them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this savior complex that so many of us, coaches, healers, deep feelers, intuitives, have, where we're wanting to save everyone from themselves to avoid the pain that we feel within ourselves. And I'm going to say that again. If you're a deep feeler and you are trying to save and help people, but they're not taking action, they're not taking steps, and it's frustrating for you, and you're trying to bring water to someone that doesn't want to drink the water, and you're frustrated and you're using all your energy around that. A lot of the time, when we're trying to save people or we're in that savior complex, we're actually just avoiding focusing on ourselves, focusing on moving our life forward or supporting the people that really want the change, that really want the work. And so, the question that I have for you today in a dynamic, this could be in your relationship, a personal relationship, this could be a relationship with a client that's just not showing up, but you feel overly responsible for their results, even though they're not doing the work that they need to do in order for you to help them move forward, as I was saying. Or it could be in any relationship. Maybe you have someone who's struggling with alcohol or drugs or addiction or something, and you're trying to move them forward. You're trying to help them, but they haven't taken the first step. You may be codependent and you may be in a trap, a cycle of this savior complex and be taking on other people's emotions. And so this is something I've struggled with most, if not all of my life, from what I can remember, constantly feeling like other people's emotions are my responsibility. Reality check, they're not. And that other people's results are, my responsibility. So what would I do? I'd go out and help all these people. And it's great because I'm a coach. So I channeled it into something that I do for a living. But when you take responsibility for other people, you get into a really unhealthy role of being the savior. And also on a subconscious level, you're telling the person that you don't feel that they're capable of doing the work themselves or showing up. So, something to be aware of in relationships. Where are you overstepping? Where are you helping people when they have not asked for help? And where are you feeling frustrated or exhausted or burnt out in your relationships? Maybe that's in business or personally, where you are doing all of the work. And maybe you haven't even used your voice and told them that they need to do certain things and you're just taking it on because you feel over responsible. This is one of the fastest ways to burn out. This is one of the fastest ways to feel resentful. This is one of the fastest ways to stunt your growth is taking on the responsibility of everyone else instead of letting people show up as they are and have their own moments where they are called to step forward or not. So stop trying to help people that don't want to be helped. Stop doing things that are outside of your responsibilities because somebody else isn't doing them. Use your voice, ask for what you need in your relationships, and let people suffer if they need to, because suffering, I know this is really tough. This might even be triggering for some of you. This would have been triggering for me years ago. It's still like, let people suffer so that they can have their moment for change. I was in a relationship for a very long time in my life. And this is not an intimate relationship. This is just someone I've known my whole life who struggled with an addiction. And so when I was younger, I constantly felt responsible for this person's well being, constantly felt responsible for this person's emotions, constantly felt like I needed to be the happy person all the time and make everything great. And how that translated into my adulthood, it was all of my relationships in life, business, intimate relationships. I would take on that role as the savior, make everyone great. And guess what would happen? I would forget about myself. I would lose myself in those relationships. And I don't do that as much anymore. I'd say I've done about 90% of the work. And I'd love to share that it's completely changed my life. It's given me more time freedom, emotional freedom, energetic freedom. I feel more fulfilled. I feel more connected to myself, more in my power, and it's completely changed my business and my entire life. So, the question that I have for you today is, where are you trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved? Where are you overworking and overdoing because you think everything falls on you when maybe it doesn't? Maybe it's somebody else's responsibility that you can, in a very kind and loving way, say, hey, this is your responsibility and it's not mine. So I'm going to focus on my side of the fence or my responsibilities, and I'll let you focus on yours. And that is healthy boundaries. And that's how you're going to win, right? And if people are struggling, let them struggle and let them take that first step to show that they're ready to create change, because those people are the best people to work with and to be around anyways. And that's why I love working with change makers, with people who know that they're here to create a change in the world and are ready to take massive inspired action inside of my programs and inside of their life. Because when people are ready, anything is possible. But when you're dragging people to water and they don't want to drink or they don't want to take any steps or do any of the work, you are going to drain your life force and you are going to burn yourself out. So, how can you delegate? How can you use your voice this week? And how can you be more aware of a potential savior complex that you have, or over responsibility that you have, or taking on other people's emotions as yours? How can you create more space and more connection with yourself? I hope that you've enjoyed today's conversation. If you have, please leave a review on the show, or if you're watching on YouTube, comment below. Sending you lots of love. Mwah.